Okay, so now we want to let users review each other's work and actually leave each other some feedback. So if we go to a project here, at the bottom of the page, we have some dummy data. And I originally built this out to be like a simple comment section, but as things progressed, I decided to make this more of a review system. So we're going to add in the ability to up or down vote a certain project. And if you want, you can leave a comment here and that comment will be displayed out here. So that comment is basically going to be attached to a specific review or a vote. So if you vote and you place that vote without a comment, no one will ever know how you voted. They won't see your vote. But if you want to leave a comment, the comment will be displayed, but no one will know how you actually voted, even if you have a comment. So that's going to be anonymous, but your information will actually modify the vote count and that percentage. So let's start by modifying the review model, and then we actually want to output the reviews here. So let's go back into our projects app, and in our projects app, we want to go into models.py, and we need to modify this review model. So we set the owner attribute, but at the time we actually didn't have a profile yet, so we didn't finish this up. So at this point, let's just go ahead and uncomment that. And let's just make sure a profile is imported. So we already imported the profile to attach an owner to a project. So we're already using this one-to-many relationship. So let's go ahead and configure this. So we'll just say owner, and this is going to be models.foreign key. And we need to pass in the relationship here. So we're attaching that to the profile, and then we'll just do on_delete. And this will be models.cascade. So basically, if a user deletes their account, we just want to delete that review. So we'll delete this. And then we also want to set this to null because we manually added some reviews into the database through the admin panel. So when we run a migration, I want to make sure we're not having any issues here. So that's the one-to-many relationship. And the next thing we want to do before we actually migrate this is we want to ensure that a user can only leave one review per project. So what we're going to do is basically bind these two values here, and we can never have a review in the database that has the same owner to the same project. So we just want to make sure that these are unique together. So that's the value we're going to set. So for this, we can go ahead and add in some meta here. So we'll just do class meta, and we'll just say unique and then underscore together. And this is going to be a list, so we can bind multiple values together. What's going on here? So together like that. So that's a word that for some reason I can never spell. So we're going to create a list here. And then inside of that list, we are also going to create another list, and we're just going to set the two attributes that we want to bind together. So we're just going to set the owner, and we are going to say that the owner and the project have to be unique. So no instance of a review can have the same owner and the same project. And this is just going to make sure that nobody tries to cheat and leave a bunch of reviews for the same project. So we're just making sure that that actually doesn't happen. So that's a list inside of a list. So make sure you're doing it that way. And now we can run this migration. So we'll just go ahead and open this up, and I'm going to open up a new terminal, and let's just go ahead and run that. So we'll just do Python manage.py make migrations. So we're prepping the migrations. Now we can actually run the migration. So we'll do Python manage.py migrate. So we're just going to execute that. So that'll add the owner attribute, and it'll make sure that those two fields are unique. So now that we have that, our server is still on. Let's go ahead and actually output some reviews. So if you didn't actually add any just yet, make sure you do that. So let's go into the admin panel. So before we start doing this from this form here, let's go into the admin panel and let's actually leave some reviews. So at this point, I added some reviews here to the e-commerce website. I'll just set an owner. So we'll just set this first one to Dennis here. And then this one is to the e-commerce website. And if I try to set this one to Dennis, this should give me an error. So it's basically saying that a review with this owner and project already exists. So that's what that unique together value did. It just ensured that I can't add another review with the same owner and project. So in this case, let's set that to John Does, and then we'll go into here. And then just make sure you add some users. So this one will be Sam Piper, and they're all going to the e-commerce website. Okay, so we want to actually output those here. So this is the e-commerce website. So let's go ahead and render these out. And I noticed that the owner of this e-commerce website is actually John Doe, but for some reason when I click on a project, I see Sharir. So I just want to update that. It looks like I forgot that in the template. So let's go ahead and close out the model here. Well, I'll leave it open, but we'll just open up a single project. So let's go ahead and scroll to the top here. And it looks like that value is still hard coded. So let me try to find that. So with the project description, about the project, and here we go. So this is the name of the owner. I want to just update this. So we'll just do project.owner.name, and that should fix that issue. So if I take a look here, now that's John Doe's project. And eventually we're going to make sure that users cannot vote on their own. So if we look here, one of these votes is John Doe, and I guess the username is John Does, but we'll ensure that users can't vote on their own. So down here, let's go ahead and actually render these out. So find the project that you added those reviews to. We just did that from the admin panel, and let's just output these first. So in the template here, let's go ahead and find this comment section, which we originally built it out as comments, but now it's reviews. And let's see, so we already have the vote ratio. We have the text form, which we'll have to modify. I'll create some space here. And here we have a comments list. So we see the first comment, so there's a wrapper around it. And then we see a second comment. So let's go ahead and delete the second one. And we're going to create a loop around this comment here. So let's do this. So we're going to create that loop. So this will be a for loop through all the reviews. So we'll just do for review in project.review_set.all. And then we're going to end that loop. So just at the closing div here, let's just do end for, and we want to output the reviews, but we only want to output reviews with a comment. So at this point, let's just go ahead and output all of them, and then we'll write that condition. So for the comment info, this will be the actual comment. Let's get rid of that, and I'll just backspace this. Let's just do review.body. So we'll just do review dot, and I think it was body. So let's see. Yeah, so body is the actual text here. So we'll just do review.body. So if I save that, I also want to link to the reviewer's profile account. So let's go ahead and anytime someone leaves a review, we want to know who left that review. So we'll just add in the name here. We'll just do review.owner.name, and let's link to their account. So this is going to be a URL tag. So we'll just do URL, and we're going into user-profile. I think that was the URL. We'll check it if it doesn't work. So user profile, and that's going into review.owner.id. Okay, so we have the link to the profile. We output the owner's name here. We output the actual review, and we also want to take this link right here, and we want to make sure that the user's profile picture is clickable. So we'll add in that link around their profile image. And the last thing I think we need to do here is just update that profile picture. So the person that left the review. So in here, we'll just create the variable, and we'll do review.owner.profile_image.url. That should do it. So let's see. Okay, so we just updated everything inside of that review here. And it looks like my for loop is actually in the wrong section. So let's fix this really quick. So this actually should be out here. So above the comment, and then where this comment ends, it should end right here. So good thing we didn't run that yet. So let's save it, and that should be it. So I noticed that because the image was outside of that for loop. So let's go to the page now. Let's see what happens. So now we see it. And the only issue is that Dennis did not actually leave a comment, and neither did John Doe. So we want to ensure that only the reviews that have a comment are listed out. So for this, we can just write a simple condition in this for loop, and there's different ways to do it. Maybe we can add in a filter in the view, but in this case, we're just going to say if review.body. So if there's a body, then we want to output the comment. So we'll go down here, and we'll just do end if. Okay, so that should limit it now. Okay, perfect. So only Sandpiper has a review here. So the next thing I want to do is just ensure that we have some space between, or we actually output gaps here in our text. So for this, I'll just show you what we're going to do here. I don't remember if I showed you this or not, but let's find this one right here. So we'll say cool project, and then let's add in some kind of text here. So this formatting here. So at this point, if I save this, we're not going to see that. That's all just going to go in line here. So there's actually supposed to be some space here. So in here, what I could do is just go into the body, and we'll just create a pipe here. So we'll just do, or a filter, I guess. So we'll do pipe like that. And then this will be line breaks, BR at the end. And that should do it. So that should ensure that anything we output actually keeps its formatting. So it's just the tag here that we're able to modify, and that should actually do it. So let's try this one more time. And there we go. So a user can actually write in a paragraph or a sentence, get some space in there, and then continue with that. So now we want to start on this form here. So we want to actually be able to submit some data. So what I'm going to do is create a model form. So we'll go ahead and go into our projects app, into forms.py, and we're going to create a simple model form around our review. So let's go ahead and import review here into our model form. So we'll do review. And then down here, let's go ahead and actually create one. So we'll just do class review form. And we'll just import or inherit from model form. So model form, and then we'll just set class meta. And the model here is going to be review. So model is review. And for the fields, we're just going to do fields. And we only want to output 2. So we'll just do 2 fields here. And this is going to be the vote here. So the value of the vote, and then the actual body. So the vote will just be a drop-down list at this point. So let's go ahead and actually output some text here. So we want to create some custom labels. I don't want it to say value in the front end. So we'll say labels here, and we can set that to the dictionary. And for the value field, let's go ahead and say place your vote. So we want to encourage a user to vote here, and we want to make sure they know what it's for. So we'll say place your vote, and that'll be the tag here. And then for the actual review here, we'll just say body. And then in here, let's go ahead and just say add your comment with a vote. So add a comment with your vote. So they know that they can leave something. Okay, so we have that. And I also want to make sure this is indented actually. So labels needs to be indented right here. So that's where it should be. Messed that up there. And what I want to do is go ahead and copy this right here. And I just want to make sure all the fields are styled. So we've been through this already. This just loops through all the fields and adds in the class of input, and that's going to allow it to be styled with our theme. So we'll paste that in. Let's make sure the indentation is right. So that needs to be indented with the word class here. And we want to make sure the form is actually updated. So review form, and we're going through each field and we're simply updating it. So now we want to output this. So we can go into our views now, and this is going to be in the projects page. So we'll go into the form, and we're going to say review form. We want to import that. And then down in the single project here, we want to output the form here. So we're just going to do form, and this will be review form. And I want to throw this into the context dictionary. So we'll just pass it in right here. So in this case, we just manually or put that out right away inside of the render method. So we'll just do form, and that's going to be form. Okay, so we have access to this form now inside of the single project template. So up here, the first thing I want to do is modify the form. So the action is actually going to send the post request back to the project page. So the project page will take care of this. So in this case, we'll just create the URL tag, and we're going into project. And I want to make sure the URL is correct here. So let's see what I call that. URLs, and we're just going into project. So project and then the project ID. So let's throw in project.id. And we also want to make sure the method is a post method. So that looks good. That's already filled out here. And let's see. So in here, inside of the form itself, I want to go ahead and update this. So we'll just loop through all the form fields and just render that. So let's see. So we'll just go ahead and wrap that right here. So we'll get rid of text area, and we'll just do for field in form, and it's only going to give us 2 fields, so it wouldn't be hard to just output those one by one, but we might as well create a for loop and save a minute here. So we'll just do end for. So now in this field here for the label, we'll just do field.label. And I want to get rid of that C right there. And then for the actual value, well, this is going to be the actual field. So that's going to style itself. We'll just do field. And let's see, what else do we need in our form? So if I scroll down here, the add a review button looks good. The form is submitting to the right area. So let's check this out here. So if I refresh it, now we see place your vote, up or down vote, and then we can actually place a comment. So that looks good at this point. So now what we want to do is actually process this view or process this review. So in the backend, we'll go into, let me open up the right text editor. So we'll go into the views.py file and we'll go into project and we're just going to submit this right here. So in theory, I could send this to another view, but this view is not that full anyway. So I could just send it here and then just redirect the user back to the project. So we'll just do if request dot method. If this is equal to post, then we want to process this. So once we set that, we're just going to get the form here. So we'll start with that and we'll just do review form. And we're going to pass in request.post. So that's just going to give us the vote and the actual comment there. So we have the review here, or we process the form. Then we want to actually get out the review here. So we'll just do form.save, and we're going to do commit false to get the instance of that review. So we actually need to set the user to this review. So that's why we're getting it. So we create the review, and then we can do review project. So we never actually set it from the front end, so we need to set the project. And in this case, we call the project object. So we'll just do project obj, and then we want to set the user. So the user review.owner, or the owner of the review, and this is going to be request.user. So we'll just go ahead and get this directly here. So request.user.profile. That'll give us the owner. So once we have all of this, we can just go ahead and save it. So we'll just do review.save. Okay, so that should process the review, and we still need to do something else to actually update the project vote count and all that, but we'll do that in the next step here. So I'll actually comment that out here, and I'll just say update project vote count. So basically we want to go into the project model here, and we want to add in the vote total and the vote ratio. So we're going to need something to calculate that. So let's go back to the views here. So after we process this, let's go ahead and actually send in a message here. So we want to send a message to the front end to let the user know that their review was submitted. So I don't think we used our Flash messages in here. So let's go ahead and import that, and we'll just do from Django.contrib. And then we'll just import messages. So messages like that, and I think that's lowercase. So we'll just try that. If it doesn't work, we'll update that. So once the review is submitted, let's send a message. So we'll just do message, and we'll just do message.success. So this is going to be a green alert message. And in here, we're going to pass in request, and we want to say your review was successfully submitted. Okay, so we're just letting the user know everything went good here. So let's save that. And at this point, we should be able to process this review. So let's try this from the front end. So if I go ahead and go to the page here, I'm going to do a refresh. And then let's go ahead and place a review or a vote. Let's just upvote this. And I'm logged in as Dennis, I think, at this point. So I'm logged in as Dennis. So what I'm going to have to do is actually get rid of my original vote, because I can only leave one here. So I'm going to remove that, and let's refresh it. And if I vote on this project, so let's go back to projects. We'll go in here, and let's leave a vote. We'll upvote it, and then we'll say nice work here. So if I add the review, it looks like I'm missing the CSRF token. Forgot that with a post request. So let's go back to the front end here, and that's supposed to be in the form here. CSRF underscore token. Okay, so the token's there. Now let's try that one more time. So we'll go in here, we'll leave an upvote. So we'll just say upvote, and then we'll just say nice work. Okay, so if I click add review, we get that alert message, the review was submitted successfully. And if I look down here, we can see my review. So we have a few issues here. One is we need this form to refresh. And we also want to try hiding we also want to make sure that a review without a comment isn't displayed here. So let's close this out. Let's try this again. So we'll go into a different project. So we'll go into projects, Code Sniper, and let's try leaving a review here. So to actually refresh that form, what we're going to do here is simply redirect a user after submission. So when we render out that page again, it still keeps all the information in there, and that form isn't refreshed. So we'll just do return, and then we'll do redirect here. And I think we imported redirect. Let's check this up here. So yeah, we already have that, and let's just go ahead and send the user back to their page. So we'll go to project, and in this case, we have to pass in an actual dynamic value because the project needs an ID. So we'll just do PK and we'll just do project object.id. So that's how we can redirect to a dynamic value like that. So if I save this, let's try this one more time. So in this case, I will leave a comment and I'll just say downvote, and I'll say needs work. Submit that. The review was submitted successfully, and I see that in the form is refilled. And if I try to submit that again, let's just do an upvote now. I changed my mind. It's not going to work, so we're going to get this error, and we can fix that error handler later. But now if I go to a different project, and if I go to Mumble Social Network, if I upvote it, I'll see that my review was submitted, and I don't see it out here. So the next thing I want to do is ensure that the review actually updates the percentage here and the vote total. So this isn't modified, so let's go ahead and first create a method here inside of our project model here. So we're going to create a method. So this method is simply going to run a calculation and then update the actual review count. So let's go ahead and say get vote count. So we want to get that vote total, and this is going to take in self, and we need to make that a function. So we'll just do def, and I want to create this as a property. So we'll just do property here, and now we can run it as an attribute and not as an actual method. So we'll leave it like that. And in here, the first thing I want to do is get all the reviews. So we'll just do reviews, and that's going to be self, so equal to self.review underscore set dot all. So we're just getting all the reviews. Then we want to get all the upvotes. So we want to create the ratio. So in this case, we'll just do upvotes, and I'm going to camel case that. And for the upvotes, we're just going to do reviews dot filter. So we're going to filter the reviews that we already have, and we're going to say value is equal to up here. So that's going to be the actual value. So these reviews. So we're just getting that value. And then once we get all the upvotes, we want to get the total votes. So we want to know how many upvotes do we have and how many total votes. So we'll just do total votes. And for the total votes, what we're going to do is just do reviews.count. So the .count method will just let us know how many items we have in that query set. So we got all the reviews. So all the reviews and then all the upvotes. And then to actually create the ratio, we'll just do ratio. And in this case, we're just going to say, in parentheses, we'll say upvotes divided by total votes. So this will run a calculation, and then I want to make this a percentage. So we're just going to do times 100. So where is that multiplier? So I'm looking for the star and then 100. So to make this an actual percentage, we will need that here. And then once we have that, what I want to do is actually update the vote total and the vote ratio. So we'll just do self.vote total. And the vote total is going to be simply set to total votes. So that's pretty simple. And then self.vote ratio, this is going to be set to the vote ratio. So we'll just do, or ratio. Okay, so we set that. And then all we're going to do is just run self.save. So anytime we trigger this function here, we are going to go ahead and calculate all this, get all these values, and then we're just going to simply update the instance of it. So now that we have this, let's go ahead and test it. So we'll go into the views now, and I called this get vote count. So down here, all I have to do is just remove this here, and I'll create some space, and we will say project object, and we'll just do get vote count. And this is what that property decorator let us do, so we don't have to run it as a method. We can just run it like that. And that should actually run that calculation, update it, send the message, and then redirect the user back to the page. So let's try this. So at this point, we'll find another project, and let's see. So we have the portfolio website, and at this point, we have 65% with 6 reviews or 6 votes. And that's actually not accurate. We hard-coded those values in. And you can see there are no votes here, and there's no votes in the database either. So there's no comments and no votes. So if I go ahead and upvote it, we see 65% with 6 votes. And let's go ahead and add our review. Let's see, something went wrong here. Oh, okay, so I think I know what happened. So we need to go back into our model here, and we need to change something here. So we're supposed to get the upvote count here. So we couldn't run that calculation. So it's going to be upvotes, and we're getting the count. So we couldn't multiply it, or we couldn't divide it here because of that value. So let's try this again. And at this point, it probably won't let me vote because I think that vote was added. So let's try it. and it's basically telling me that we already added that. So let's find a different project, or I guess we could just delete that review here. So this is to portfolio website. Let's find it here. E-commerce. Let me zoom in here. Okay, portfolio website. I'm going to delete it. And now we can leave that review. So I'll refresh it. And right now we're seeing 65 with 6 votes. We are going to upvote it, add that, and there we go. Our review was submitted. And if we look at this, we see 100% positive feedback with one vote. So that went in, ran that method, and actually updated the values of our project. So now in the front end, I want to make sure projects are sorted by the highest rated project. So at this point, we see our project with 30% positive feedback and 98% and 100%. And I just want to make sure that the top rated projects are listed at the very top. So let's go in here and we can just change the ordering. So at this point, projects are ordered by created, so the date that they were created. And let's just do this. So we want to list this out by descending order. So we're going to invert that and we'll just do vote underscore ratio. So that means that the top rated projects will be listed first. And then we also want to order these by vote total. So we're going to invert that. So it's descending, add in that dash, and then vote underscore total. So what this means is that a project with a high ratio will get rated. But what if we have one project that has 10 reviews and 100% rating, and then another project that has 1 review with 100% rating? Well, both of those are highly rated, but I want to make sure that the one that has more votes, so if they're equally the same in rating, the one with more votes will take precedent over it. So if you have more reviews with a good rating, that should also be the case, or that should rank you better. Now, if all those don't come into play, we'll just order it by the title. So this is actually going to be in order. So we'll go by vote ratio, vote total, and then by the title. So let's just save this and we'll go back in here. And if I refresh this, now we see Code Sniper, then we see Portfolio and Yoga Vibe at 98%. So if Portfolio gets another review and it's a positive review, this will actually take this place and Code Sniper will move to the right. So that's what we wanted to ensure here. Now, the next thing I want to do is make sure that users that aren't logged in can't vote. And then we also want to make sure that if you voted, you can't vote. And we want to make sure that you can't vote on your own project. So for this, we're going to have to add some conditions. So the first thing I'm going to do is go back into the model and I want to create another method here. And we're going to have to use this in the front end. So what I want to do is simply get all the voters for a specific project. So I want to get all the owners' IDs for a vote. So inside of the project model, we're going to create another method here. So we'll create the function and we will say reviewers, and we're going to pass in self here. And for the actual method, we're going to make sure this is a property. So we'll just do property or put the property decorator. And all we want to do is get a query set of all the people that voted on this project. So we'll just do query set, and then that's going to be set to self.review underscore set dot all. So we're just getting all the reviewers. And then what we want to do is go into the values list. So we're trying to not just get all the objects, we're trying to get all the owners' IDs here. So for this, we can do something a little bit more unique here. So we can go into all and we're going into values list. So values underscore list. And we're saying, give us the owner ID. So we'll just do owner underscore ID or double underscore. And then we want to ensure that this is a simple list of IDs. We can't have objects here if we want to do what we're trying to do in the front end. So we'll just do flat, and that's going to be equal to true. So instead of getting back a query set of reviews here, we're getting a single attribute of those reviews. So at this point, values list will give us simply a list of IDs, but that list will still be an object. We're just getting back that one value. And then when we say flat, it's going to convert that into a true list. So it won't even be an object. So now we can simply access project.reviewers, and this will give us back an entire list of IDs of people that have reviewed a project. So we'll see in a second how this is going to work. So we'll just do a return, and then we want to return back the query set. So now we want to go into our single project, and around this form is where we need to add in some conditions. So let's add in an if statement, and then I want to close it. And then we'll actually write in several conditions. So we'll just do if, and then at the bottom here, let's close it first. We'll just do end if. And then let's start at the top here. So the first if statement. So at the top, we want to make sure that you have not already reviewed this project. So let's go ahead and say if request.user.profile.id, so profile.id. So we want to make sure that the currently logged in user's ID does not exist in the list right here inside of the reviewer. So that's basically making sure that whoever's logged in, their ID is not anywhere in this query set, because if it is, that means you've already voted. You are already a reviewer to the project. So we'll say if request.user.profile.id is in project.reviewers, and that's all we have to do here. So reviewers like that. So if that user is in this project's list, then let's go ahead and, whoops, what did I click here? So if we are in this list, then what we want to do is output a message, and we're just going to say you have already submitted your review for this project. So we'll just do a paragraph tag, and we'll say you have already submitted your review for this project. Okay, so you have already submitted your review for this project, and we want to create an else statement now. So after that, we're going to create an elif statement. So we'll just do the tag here, and then we'll do elif. And the next condition is we want to make sure that you are not the project owner. So in this case, we'll just say request.user.profile is not equal to, or if the user is equal to project.owner. So if you wrote this, or if this is your project, we want to make sure that you can't review it. So we'll just do project.owner. So elif the request.user is equal to the project owner. Then we want to create another paragraph tag, and we'll say you cannot review your own work. Okay, so you can't review it if you already reviewed it. You can't review it if you're an owner. And then I want to create one more condition, and this is going to be another elif statement. So we'll just do elif. And in this case, we want to make sure that the user is authenticated. So you are logged in. A user that's not logged in should not be able to write a review. So we'll just say if request.user.is_authenticated. So authenticated. Then we want to output the form. So if the user is authenticated, we want the user to be able to write a review. So if the user is not authenticated, that's going to be the last statement, and then we're just going to say else here. So we'll just do else, and that is at the bottom. So if starts right here, and then we'll just go ahead and create some space here. So we'll say else. So if a user is not logged in, we just want to point them to log in. So we just want to point them to log into the go into the login page. So we'll just go ahead and create a tag here, or a link, and in this case, let's set that URL. So that's going to be href, and we're just going to let the user log in. So we'll say URL, and this is going to login. And then after the URL here, so outside of the closing curly brace here, what we're going to do is add in an extra parameter. So this is going to be next here, and then we want to go ahead and pass in the current URL, so the current project that the user is on. So this is going to be request.path. So request.path just takes a snapshot of where we're currently at, and when we go to login, this will be passed in as a parameter. So what we're trying to accomplish here is basically pass in a URL for the user to be redirected to after they log in. So they're going to go to that login form. Once they submit it, we want them back on this page. So we're going to need to pass this in, and then we'll also need to configure something in the backend. So for the text here, we'll just say, please log in to leave a review. So if they're not, if they don't have an account, they can just go ahead and create an account from that register form. So it'll be pretty easy to navigate. So we have that link here, and let's just recap what we have here. So in here, we're basically checking if the user already left a review. If they did, we're gonna let them know that they can't review it. If they're the owner, we'll let them know that an owner cannot review that project. Now, if they're neither an owner or the person, or if they neither left a review or are the owner, then we want to let them submit the form here. So we want them to write a review. Now, if they're not logged in, we prompt them to log in. We'll send them to that page with a path to come back here. So let's go ahead and test this out. So I'm going to save all of this, and I'm actually going to go into my admin panel, and I just want to clear out all the votes here. or I guess we can call them reviews. So we'll just go into the admin panel and let's just go to reviews and let's just get rid of everything and see what happens. So I'll just select all of them and we'll just do delete. So that'll delete all of our reviews. And now we have no reviews. So at this moment, it's not going to update these. So if I refresh it, we're still going to see the count here because we need some kind of signal probably to update this. We won't do it right now. That's just going to get updated every time a user actually leaves a review. So if we go to a project that we own, so we are logged in. I'm currently logged in as Dennis. So if I go to a project that I own, which is Yoga Vibe here, I can see that I'm the owner. If I go down here, it's going to tell me I cannot leave a review on my own work. So if I go to another project where I do own it, so we'll go into, or don't own it, let's go into this one by John Doe. I can leave a review. So if I leave that review, I'm just gonna downvote it in this case. So if I downvote it, it tells me my review was submitted. And if I try to downvote it again or leave another review, I'm gonna see this note right here that says I already submitted the review. Now, what if I am not an authenticated user? So I just came to the website and I want to check out some projects. And let's say I want to log in and review CodeSniper. So let's actually not do CodeSniper. Let's do something that is made by not Dennis. So we'll go to e-commerce website and I want to leave a review. So at this point, I see this button to leave a review, and this is going to take me to the login page. Now, this time when I'm being sent to this, I have this next route here. So this is passed along with that. So when the user logs in, we want to redirect them back to that project. So here's what we need to do here. The first thing is, because there's multiple ways of doing this, the first thing is to update our template for that login form. So we'll go into our users app here and we'll go into login_register.html. So in this page, we want to go into the login form. So the top form is our register form. So up here we have the register form, and then we have the else statement and then the login form. So if we use this method here, we're sending the post request to this URL. The problem with this method is it's basically going to clear all of our other requests, and we won't be able to pass in the original GET request if we do this. So with action, all I have to do is leave that as blank, and this is still going to send the request to the login page, but now we are actually going to be able to access that GET request even when we submit a post request. So that might not make sense. If anything, just go ahead and clear that, and that will solve our problem. So go ahead and clear it, and let's save this. And then what we need to do here is when we send this request, we need to go to our views here, and we need to go to that login view. So in login view, at this point, when a user logs in, we just redirect him to the profile. So we want to update this. So when a user is redirected here, let's just go ahead and clear all of this. What we want to do is we want to write a condition here. So we're just going to write an if statement, and we're just going to do request.get. And even though this is a post method, we're still able to do get because we cleared that from our form. So we're just going to pass this in, and we're going to say send the user to the next route. So the next route will be what we passed in right here. So we're getting this URL. So we're saying send the user here if next is in, and then we'll just do request.get. So if next is inside of this request.get method, send the user here. Then we can just add in an else statement. So after this, we'll just do else. And instead of sending the user to the home page, let's just send them to their account. So we'll just do account like that. So if they're a new user, we want them to probably update their stuff. But regardless, I think a user, once they log in, should just be sent to their account. So we send that request, and then we know exactly where to send that user. So let's try this. So if I log out here, so I'll just go back here, we'll log in. If I log in, I'm sent to my account. And if I log out and go to a project, so now I'm an unauthenticated user. Let's go to a project, and we'll just do this one by John Doe. If we go here and then we go to please log in to leave a review, now we have this parameter and we're going to be sent here. So if I click on this, now I'm sent back to this route, and I can proceed with my vote. So I'll just go ahead and upvote it, and I'll say nice work, and there we go. So that works. So that's going to be it for the review and voting section. Really quick, I want to fix up one thing before we end this that I noticed in the login page. So in the login page, I noticed that we are not converting the username to the lowercase value. So let's just do .lower like this. So remember, in the login page, when a user submits the form, we basically ensure that the username will always be lowercase. And in here, we want to do that too. So that way there's no case sensitivity. So that's it for this video. The next video, what we're going to do here is actually build in the ability to message other users. So right now I'm logged in as Dennis, and we have this send message button. So users will now be able to send messages back and forth, and we are also going to configure that inbox here.